Axles and bearings. Axles and bearings are critical components of a vehicle's drivetrain system. They help transfer power from the engine to the wheels while ensuring smooth rotation and stability. Diagnosing and repairing axle shaft and bearing problems, as well as removing and replacing axle assemblies, are essential skills for an automotive technician. This lesson will provide a detailed understanding of how to identify, repair, and replace axle and bearing components. By mastering these skills, you will be well prepared for the ASE certification test and equipped to handle these repairs in a real-world environment. Diagnosing and repairing axle shaft and bearing problems. Axles and bearings play a vital role in a vehicle's performance, and diagnosing issues with them requires a thorough understanding of their functions and common problems. Common axle shaft problems. Axle shaft noise. Symptoms: a whining, grinding, or clunking noise that increases with speed and turns. Possible causes: worn axle shaft bearings. Bearings that support the axle shaft can wear out over time, leading to noise and vibration. Damaged axle shaft. A bent or damaged axle shaft can cause excessive vibration and noise during driving. Axle shaft vibration. Symptoms: vibration that occurs during acceleration or deceleration, felt in the steering wheel or the seat. Possible causes: out-of-balance axle shaft. Axles that are not properly balanced can cause vibrations at certain speeds. Worn universal joints, U-joints. U-joints that connect the axle shafts to the drive shaft can wear out, leading to vibration. Axle shaft leaks. Symptoms: fluid leaking from the axle assembly, often seen around the axle seal. Possible causes: worn or damaged axle seals. Seals that keep fluid inside the differential or axle housing can wear out, leading to leaks. Cracked axle housing. A crack in the axle housing can lead to fluid leakage. Common bearing problems. Noise from wheel bearings. Symptoms: a growling, humming, or whirring noise that increases with speed and may change when turning. Possible causes: worn wheel bearings. Bearings that support the wheel hub can wear out, leading to noise and eventual failure. Contaminated bearing. Dirt or water ingress can damage the bearings and lead to premature wear. Wheel bearing vibration. Symptoms: vibration in the steering wheel or body of the vehicle, especially when turning. Possible causes: worn or damaged bearings. Bearings that support the wheel hub can cause vibration if they are damaged or worn. Incorrectly torqued wheel bearings. Over-tightening or under-tightening wheel bearings during installation can cause vibration. Excessive play or movement. Symptoms: play or movement in the wheel hub when the vehicle is lifted or in motion. Possible causes: worn or loose bearing. A worn bearing can cause excessive play or movement in the wheel hub. Diagnosing axle and bearing problems. Visual inspection. Inspect the axle shafts for visible signs of damage, such as bends, cracks, or dents. Check the wheel bearings for signs of wear, rust, or corrosion. Noise diagnosis. Use the drive test method to help locate the source of the noise. Listen for changes in pitch or intensity as you accelerate, decelerate, or turn the vehicle. Vibration diagnosis. If you notice vibration, check the condition of the axle shafts, bearings, and U-joints. Also, inspect the drive shaft for imbalances. Fluid leak diagnosis. Inspect the axle seals and differential housing for leaks. Use a fluid dye or UV light to help locate the source of the leak if necessary. Removing, replacing, and testing axle assemblies. Removing axle assemblies. Prepare the vehicle. Raise the vehicle using a lift or jack stands. Secure it properly to prevent any movement. Disconnect the battery and remove any components that may obstruct the axle removal. Remove the axle nut. Use a large wrench or impact tool to remove the axle nut. This may require a large amount of torque, depending on the vehicle. Disconnect the suspension components. Remove any suspension components that are in the way of the axle removal. You may also need to remove the drive shaft or other drivetrain components to gain access to the axle. Remove the axle. Once the axle nut and suspension components are removed, carefully slide the axle assembly out of the vehicle. Be mindful of the axle seal and bearing as you remove the assembly. Replacing axle assemblies. Install the new axle. Insert the new axle into the axle housing or differential, ensuring it is properly aligned. Install any seals, gaskets, and bearings that need to be replaced. Ensure that they are installed correctly to prevent leaks. Reconnect suspension components. Reinstall the suspension components that were removed, ensuring that they are securely fastened. Tighten the axle nut to the manufacturer's torque specifications. Check for proper fit and function. Ensure the axle is correctly aligned and that it rotates smoothly without interference. Reinstall the wheels and lower the vehicle to the ground. Testing axle assemblies. Check for leaks. After installation, check for fluid leaks around the axle seals and differential housing. Test drive the vehicle. Take the vehicle for a short test drive to ensure that the axle functions properly, without any abnormal noise or vibration. Check for proper operation. Ensure that the transmission shifts smoothly and that there is no noise or vibration coming from the axle assembly. Conclusion and recap. In this lesson, we covered the diagnostic procedures for axle shaft and bearing problems, including noise, vibration, and leaks. We also provided step-by-step instructions on removing, replacing, and testing axle assemblies. Mastering these procedures is essential for anyone preparing for the ASE certification test and for handling real-world axle and bearing issues in an automotive service environment.